Fuck with us, you insane in the mind. You cowards way out of line.
I do that every episode where I like ladies and gentlemen isn't very inclusive, but it's like so ingrained into like that's what yeah. But we are joined by William Huckaby. So I was trying to come up with like a introduction. So I asked ChatGPT to help write an introduction, and it told me to mention bourbon and honey buns.
Yes, and cowtails. I don't know why I always forget to mention cowtails. Like, like literally, I'm addicted to cowtails.
Is that a cup full of cowtails, or is there like liquid in
No,
the cup?
well, where's liquid in the cup right now? But this was a birthday gift because yesterday we're recording this on February 4th, right?
Yes.
Okay, so February 2nd is my wrestling birthday. February 3rd is the anniversary of my 21st birthday. And as a gift, David Willis, who's a commentator for Crack and Pro Wrestling, got me this huge cup. Y'all can see it. And it was, oh, I'm trying to put it on my camera. Got me this huge cup, and it was full of cocktails. I got like maybe seven left.
Nice. So if you're at a show, it's always good to bring you cowtails. Bourbon, I'm sure, is
Our
greatly
bourbon.
appreciated, and honey buns.
Hmm.
Awesome. Well, before we start, where can everybody find you on social media? What's the best way to connect with you and support you as well?
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. All of it's basically William Huckaby. He's either William Huckaby or W.A. Huckaby.
Okay.
I even have a red note. Everybody thought TikTok was leaving us and stuff. I
Yeah.
went and signed up for Red Note and I started learning Mandarin. So yeah. Oh, and Blue Sky. I'm also on Blue Sky as well. So yeah, I got all the social medias.
Perfect. Well, I told Mark James that you were coming on the podcast, and he said that there was one thing that I had to bring up. So I am going to we're just going to start with it because I feel like that's what we should be doing here. So I'm going to play a quick video.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. Think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away.
Music was added by me, of course, but
Wow.
I had no part in that.
All right. Man, that's cold.
I had no part in that.
Damn, Mark James. That was a stiff shot. So I call myself the heavyweight high flyer. Even now at like 270 pounds, I can do a standing moonsault, no problem. The weird thing is, of course, it's gonna sound like an excuse, but it's not an excuse, but it is. So Trey knows this. If you work in North Carolina, the majority of people have 18 to 20-foot rings. That's just the standard in North Carolina. Everybody has an 18-footer. Some companies you go to, there's a 20-footer. In Georgia, almost everybody exclusively uses a 16-foot ring. So, and Trey knows this, when you're in the difference between a 16-footer and an 18-footer is a huge difference.
Yes.
From a 16 to a 20 is even bigger. And so your steps are different when you're running the ropes. So at the time, I was wrestling like 5 days a week in different states, different cities, and everybody basically had an 18 to 20-foot ring, but that company, AWE, they was using a 16-footer. And I've been doing dives. If you look on YouTube and look at, a lot of especially a lot of my older stuff, I've been doing dives and flips and stuff for years. So I go to do the dive, but I mistimed my steps. And so I went to go jump. And if you ask some people, they'll say that my gut hit the rope. But if you look at that video, we all watched the Olympics this year, right?
yeah. I think I know.
Remember that pole vaulter? Remember the pole vaulter?
I believe with you.
If
Yeah.
you notice, if you watch that video, I'm straight like the dive is perfect, and my gut is already past the rope, and a certain body part of mine hits that top rope, and it's just like it's like a hook, and it's just like nope, straight down. So people make fun of it, but it's like no, 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 my junk is so big
Yeah.
that it stopped me from doing a dive.
Would,
And that's
would
my story. That's sticking to it.
would that be considered? And this will probably be bleeped out, but would that be considered a block?
Exactly. The worst part about that video is that Rob Killjoy and Coach
Yeah.
Mikey were there in the audience. And literally before the show was over, that video, Coach Mikey had took a clip of that. He had already took a fan, like he took a clip of it. I guess somebody was recording it, added music to it, uploaded it onto Facebook, and then that went basically viral in the Southeast before the show ended. It was ridiculous. And now every year around that time, Murder One reminds me of that dive. Every year. He's like, oh yeah, this is a yearly reminder of the time Huck tried to dive and it didn't happen. Yeah.
Speaking of a failed dive, I think we should transition to a successful dive, and let's dive into your relationship with wrestling. When did you first like? Because thank you, Trey. Thank you. When did you first become like a fan of wrestling, or when were you introduced?
Wrestling has always been a part of my life for as long as I can remember. I'm an 80s kid. So I grew up during the golden era, like the end of the territories, beginning of Hulkamania. That's my formative years. Um, my real father was a huge wrestling fan. He's from St. Louis or Chicago. Um, my mother's from North Carolina. My stepdad is from North Carolina. But when I was a kid, we would, and a lot of the young listeners aren't going to understand this, but we used to schedule our holidays and dinners around wrestling and boxing. So for like, the Great American Bash was usually on around the 4th of July. So we would eat, we would start cooking out early and then we'd watch the Great American Bash and then we'd set off fireworks later after the pay-per-view went off. Or we'd set off fireworks before the pay-per-view went off. You know what I'm saying? Survivor Series was always on Thanksgiving. We would eat dinner super early on Thanksgiving so we could rush home and watch Survivor Series. Same thing with Starcade. Starcade was on Christmas. We would eat Christmas dinner early at my aunt's house and then rush home, to go watch Starcade. So wrestling's always been like a part of my life, I guess.
That 4th of July. That sounds like the perfect 4th of July. Like that just sounds like an
Oh yeah.
ideal. Like I,
I mean, well, yeah, yeah.
but so what drew you in? Was it just kind of something that like you had to be interested in if you were in the family, or is it like something that you like really like? Obviously, you love it because you're doing it, but like, what really drew you in?
I don't know. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it was the pageantry and the characters and the stories," and I don't know, man. It was just something that we all did in the '80s. It was like everybody watched Transformers and everybody watched GI Joe and Braveheart or Brave Star. Everybody watched wrestling. It was just thing. Everybody watched Mike Tyson fights and everybody watched wrestling. I don't know. It was just a thing.
Who were some of your like go tos? Like, who were some of your favorites growing up?
My favorites growing up are my favorites now because there's a huge difference.
You give me both of them.
Yeah, both would be great.
My favorites growing up, I hate to say it, was Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Um,
Boo.
yeah, I know. Hey, we can boo him now, but in the '80s, man, Hulk Hogan was the man.
Oh yeah.
Hulk Hogan, Arn Anderson, the Road Warriors, Lex Luger, Superfly Jimmy Snuka. I'm starting to realize that like all of my favorite wrestlers when I was a kid were all like murderers and racists and drug addicts and shit.
They're all very controversial.
They're all horrible people.
Yeah.
Uh, um, but now, that I've been in the business, I will say my favorite wrestler of all time is Ray Stevens. You know what I'm saying? Love Ray Stevens. Number two is Arn Anderson. Number three is still Lex Luger. Um, Number four, this is my top. Well, I guess I don't know if it's any particular. Four and five kind of switches, depending on how I'm feeling that day. But it's like either the Road Warriors or Jake the Snake Roberts. So it just all depends.
What is it about Lex Luger that like has you still to this day? Because I feel like that's somebody that like doesn't get really any credit. Like he's there, everybody points to the way he looks as his success, but like clearly, like he stuck around. There's a million people that look like him.
Man, Lex Luger looked like a superhero. And then, he had the torture rack, and I'm like, even now, you know what I'm saying? Every once in a while, I'll pull up the torture rack. It's kind of my homage to Lex Luger. But I thought, you know, Ray Stevens and Arn Anderson were like truck driver tough. They look like tough guys in my neighborhood. And then Lex Luger just looked like a superhero. He looked like, everybody in the cartoons. He looked like He-Man.
Yeah.
So that might be why I was so like attracted to him because he looked like all of my favorite cartoon characters.
So that's something that I've kind of linked doing this podcast is there's usually like two like big things in childhood that usually often carry over for wrestlers. The older generation, it's comics. The newer generation, it's anime. Are you a big comic book guy?
Huge, huge comic book guy.
Were you like into comic books at the same age you were into wrestling?
Yes. Yes.
So,
Yes,
who
I
are some
was.
top comic heroes or like comics in
My
themselves?
two favorite, my three favorite comic book characters in order are Superman, the Incredible Hulk, and Colossus. In that
Interesting.
order.
I, so, like the Superman
I
and
think
Lex Luger.
Batman. I think Batman's whack as shit for the record. So yeah.
Wait, why the Batman hate?
Huh? Because Batman's not a superhero. I mean, he's not even awesome. His Batman's superpower is white privilege. If Bat if Batman was black, if Batman was black, Commissioner Gordon would have shot him in the face in Detective Comics episode number 2. And I hate because in Detective Comics, Batman had a gun. People forget that Batman used to shoot people. And now all of a sudden we look at Batman, these rose-colored glasses, like, oh, he doesn't kill people. It took him like what? It took 8 Batman movies for him to kill somebody. And I'm like, yo, this dude's been killing people since Detective Comics issue number 1.
Man said I got receipts.
Like, yeah, like fuck this guy. Like, oh, Superman killed somebody before Batman did in the movie, and that's bullshit. Like
um,
the first person Superman killed was Doomsday. Like, get the hell out of here, bruh.
so when it comes to Superman, were you afraid? Were you a fan of the Mario Lopez Superman,
The
or
who?
was it Dean Kane? Sorry, Dean Kane.
I thought. Well, I mean, of course, my favorite Superman of all time is Christopher Reeves. But I thought Dean Kane actually looked more like Superman. I mean, his Clark Kent was okay, but as far as like the actual Superman,
Mhm.
up until Henry Cavill, I thought Dean Kane had the best Superman look.
What is it about Superman that like has not only like drew you in, but like kept you over time?
I don't know. Me and oh God, I forgot his name just that fast. Me and John Davis had a huge discussion about comic books and Superman one day, and he basically said like he equated Superman to Jesus. Um, but I think the thing with Superman is that he's just uber powered. Like he has all this power, all this strength, all these different abilities, and he could really run the world if he wanted to. And he's like, "Nah, I'm cool. I'm just here to help out." And as somebody who was really small growing up. When I graduated high school, I was like 5'2", 125 pounds. So I have an issue with bullies. And so for somebody to be as powerful as Superman or the Hulk or even Colossus and not be a bully, that really resonates with me.
I've never heard it put that way because I'm not educated into Superman, which is a question I want to follow up with. Is like, what would you recommend for people to get into Superman? But I've never thought like I always thought about Superman as just like this cheat code, and to me that kind of seemed boring. But the way that you
He's
described it,
Trey, he's a Batman fan, isn't he?
I will not confirm nor
You're a
deny.
Bat you're a Batman guy, aren't you?
I enjoy Batman. I enjoy Batman.
You know why? You know why? Because Batman resonates with white guys. That's why.
I get it.
It's
Yeah,
like, ooh, if I had money, I'd learn karate and I'd just be rich and I'd buy everything. See, white guys.
uh, you're definitely right. Yeah, I would say like my favorite though, like at least like I really got into the Flash. I like the Flash's kind of story. Um, and then like Deadpool's like an easy answer, but like actually like reading the comics and stuff.
See, so I tell people because Superman is such a complex character. Superman really is. If you really I'll say if you had to read any story involving Superman, I would say it would be it's this graphic novel, the Kingdom Come series, where punk ass Batman, because he got crippled by Bane and he can't do anything, he creates like a mind control device and stuff, and he takes over the DC version of Captain Marvel, which everybody knows now is Shazam, but he's the actual Captain Marvel, whatever. And Captain Marvel turns evil, and Superman literally retires and is just living on his farm because Lois Lane has been killed and stuff in this huge fight in Metropolis, and so he just retires to his farm in Kansas, and he's going gray eventually. He has a ponytail, and he looks like a hippie, and he has to come out of retirement to fight Captain Marvel and Batman. And they ended up killing like 70% of the DC universe in that story. It was wild. But like if you haven't read any Superman comics, I would say that would be the one. Either
Okay,
that one or the Doomsday. Either that one or the Doomsday series, where Superman actually dies.
I will definitely check that out. I nobody's ever made me like Superman as a character is really cool because like they fucking helped like back in the day the like Superman they used it to catch members of the Ku Klux Klan through the radio show like the significance of Superman is really cool and historic, but I've never really gotten into the story, so I'll definitely have to
He like beat up Hitler and fought Muhammad Ali.
yeah.
What did Batman do?
So I have a
He
question.
fought a circus clown.
So how accurate is the Death of Superman movie to the Doomsday comics?
Not very.
I love that
Not
movie.
very. Huh?
I said,
I mean,
damn, I love that movie.
it's not really, you know. Because when they actually fight, like they're in the middle of Metropolis and everybody's watching in the comic book. Like, and it's they're hitting each other so hard that like windows are shattering, things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? And like Superman is damn near dying, and like he uses like the last little bit of energy he has left to like knock out and kill Doomsday with a punch. You know what I'm saying? So like
Hmm.
in the movies, like I said, it's like, oh, he uses like a kryptonite spear and all that stuff. It's like, no, it was just raw brute force and anger and like him trying to protect his loved ones. You know what I'm saying? Is what got him over that hump. And Batman was nowhere to be found. Batman had got Batman got smoked. You know what I'm saying? Like Batman, I don't even think Batman showed up in the comic. Like Wonder Woman was there, the Flash was there, the rest of the Justice League was there. I don't think Batman even showed up. He was like, yeah, he was like that meme, fuck that shit, I'm out. Like that was Batman.
um that's amazing. What piece of media do you think has been the best adaptation of a comic book so far that you've seen?
the best adaptation. Uh, the Deadpool. I mean, Deadpool is about as close as it gets, really, when it comes Deadpool. I don't know a lot, so I don't know. You have to ask your fans. I just started getting into The Witcher because of Henry Cavill,
Hmm.
but I heard that that's like dead, almost damn near right on with the video games and the books and stuff.
I've heard the
So
same.
I'm not sure. Yeah, like The Witcher. So without actually reading the books or playing the game, I've heard The Witcher is like damn near spot on. Um, but for things that I've seen, as far as movies or shows, um, yeah, I would say Deadpool is about as close as it is. And they use some creative, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some creativity and stuff and interpretations. Um, Luke Cage is actually pretty good. Luke Cage, um, Jessica Jones. Like Marvel does a pretty good job a lot of times with taking stuff off the comic books. I hate to say this. Actually, I don't hate saying this. Correction. Um, as far as DC goes, I would say the glittery vampire, the Robert Patterson Batman, is about as close to like comic book Detective Comics Batman than any other Batman movie. And I know most people who say, "Oh, I'm a Batman fan," hates the Robert Patterson Batman, but that is about as close to the true original essence of Batman as you can get.
Yeah. I was surprised at how good he was in that role.
Did
Well, I was too.
Did you like the new animated series? As much as you dislike Batman, or
No,
did
I
you even
don't.
see it? You didn't like it?
I didn't even watch it. I didn't even
Oh,
watch it. I'm not a Batman. I'm not a Batman fan whatsoever.
I'm not even watching the
I literally,
media.
I literally, I literally watched the Robert Pattinson Batman just because I thought it was going to be trash, and I just wanted to talk shit to Batman fans. And then turns out it was really, and then turned out it was good, and I was like, damn. If all of the DC, like if I was DC, I would make all of my movies look like the Batman movie and the first Joker. I haven't seen the second one with
I haven't either.
what's her name yet. I haven't seen the musical because I'm kind of afraid. But I was like, if DC made all of their fucking movies gritty, like I might be a fan.
Yeah. I think a lot of people can get behind that. Trey, do you have any more comic book questions before we jump back into the world of wrestling?
Actually, I have a kind of like a mix of the two. So, the Incredible Huck, how that nickname come up?
I got that from Joe Black. I was, I've gone through, it's been 19 years, and I've gone through so many different monikers. When I first broke into wrestling, I was Remix, which is a great gimmick, but it's terrible if you're a greenhorn. And then I was the All American African American. Then I was the Morning Star, and I just couldn't find something. And
Hmm.
me and Joe was riding the car, and I was like, it's like this just ain't working. Like I don't like this gimmick. I don't like this moniker. Like, oh, I've got to figure out something. And so Joe was like, why don't you just be the Incredible Hulk? And I was like, what? He's like, you're big. You're always angry. You're one of the strongest motherfuckers I know. He's like, why don't you just become the Incredible Hulk? And I was like, you're a genius. And so from that day forward, I was like, oh, the Incredible Hulk.
Perfect. And that's a perfect segue into our part of our show, which I I stalk social media, and I go back through your whole entire Facebook, and I picked a selection of pictures. We're gonna go through those pictures, and we're gonna
Oh,
hear the
Jesus.
stories behind them. It's called "Take the Pictures."
Why don't you take a picture? It'll last longer.
I turn my camera on. I cut my fingers on the way. On the way.
Welcome to Take the Pictures. Trey's never seen these pictures. Um, you've seen these pictures, but
Is
maybe
that
not.
Irvin?
Uh, that is Chad Kroger from Nickelback.
Oh, I couldn't see the eyes. I was like, from like here down, it looks like Irvin from the Crips.
Oh, that's me. That's my face. Um,
Oh, is it?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
I
That's
can
kind
see
of,
it.
it's like
yeah,
okay. We'll go with
it's
that.
from the Nickelback photograph video. I guess you had to be there. Uh, but we'll start off.
Yeah.
I don't remember what order these are in, so I guess this is kind of a journey for all of us. But we'll start off right here. I think this is like the oldest.
Oh,
Nice.
oh man. Okay, so that was a show that took place in the high school I graduated, New Bern High. We had Jake. The special guest that night was Jake the Snake Roberts. One of my best friends, Dave Cook, like dislocated his kneecap in the main event for that. But that's me versus a good friend of mine, Bobby the Bull Savage. I told you I've been doing dives and flips for as long as I've been wrestling. The bad thing was that table did not break. And beforehand, we were like, if this table doesn't break, we're just going to do it again. And I did the splash on him onto the table, and the table didn't break. We just literally I just bounced off of him or whatever. And I was like, should we do it again? And he was just like, hell no, brother, take it home. Like it was such a oh god, that table whooped our asses, man.
That table looks pretty tough.
It was, yeah.
um. So, what version of William Huckaby are we looking at here?
That is remix. Oh God, I fucking forgot about that singlet. Okay, so in between being remix and the All American African American, I was trying to come up with like a cool nickname. And you know how like they call Chris Benoit the Rabbit Wolverine and all that. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so I was trying to come up with like a really cool like animal nickname. And so I was like, oh, I'm gonna call myself the Silverback. And so on the back of that singlet tray is an airbrushed gorilla before the Gorilla Squad. You know what I'm saying? I was the
Yeah.
original Silverback, and like I remember everybody in the locker room looked at me and was like, "Is that a black dude with a gorilla on the back of his singlet?" And they were just like, even Jake Roberts was like, "I'm not touching it. I'm not touching it." Like, okay, but yeah,
Amazing.
that's the remix version.
Love it.
And I have another singlet. I think it might be coming up soon that I would like to talk about. It's a wild thing to say out of context, but we'll go to the next one. This singlet right here, Mark James provided this picture here.
Of course he did.
Is that the traveling singlet that went from Mark to you and then to Tim?
No, no, the one that went from Mark to me to Tim is blue.
Is that not blue?
That's a custom. No, that's purple. That's a custom singlet made by Rick Michaels, the famed gear maker down here in Georgia. Rick Michaels. He made that gear. He made that singlet, and there's a funny story behind that singlet as well.
I would love to hear it.
Yes.
There was a promoter or a business person in the Eastern Carolina area who had a there's a promoter in the Eastern Carolina area who had a business partner who hated me and thought he was trying to be funny one time. It was like, "Hey, Huck, me and my wife was looking at some of your promo pics, and I never realized that you had such a huge belly button." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, we're looking at your pictures." And I was like, "Ha ha, Huck's belly button is so huge." And I was like, "I have a huge belly button," and I lift my shirt up. I'm like, "Hey, homie, I have an innie." I was like, "I think the picture you're talking about." I was like, "That's not my belly button. Like, that's my penis." I was like, so I hope you and your wife got a good look at my wiener.
My dick.
Yeah, it was in that singlet. Yeah,
Oh, that's fucking great.
as you can tell, a lot of my stories of wrestling involve my wiener.
My dick.
But yeah,
Let's
that singlet was made by Rick Michaels. And I'll tell anybody if you can get the time to get Rick Michaels to make you some gear, he's amazing because he didn't take measurements to make that singlet. He basically knew my measurements perfectly except for the circumference of my thighs. He had to like take in the thighs a little bit, but other than that, everything else fit perfectly. But now the Mark James singlet is blue and black.
Okay,
Or it's Carolina blue and then navy blue on the sides. Yeah,
amazing. I like to think that that's still circulating somewhere. I don't remember who
yeah.
Tim said he gave it to, but he has passed it along. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so this picture, this was for, I think Mark said this was in the NWA magazine. Um,
Yes. Oh Jesus. So that match was not as good as it should have been for one reason and one reason alone. That ring was 22 feet,
Mm.
and it's the old WrestleMania 2 ring, so it has a huge spring in the middle of it. And it was, you might as well have been bumping on concrete.
Mm.
And me and Mark was like, we're not taking a bunch of bumps on this match. Like, oh God, it was so, like, bumping in that ring was so terrible. Like, it was a real, like, our match was really shitty. And I owe Mark James a way better match. But yeah, that picture some kind of way made it into the NWA magazine and stuff. Shout out to my homeboy Cody, who was the editor of that magazine, matter of fact.
Shout out
So,
Cody. Last question about this: should Mark James come back to the Trunks? So
Nah, man, I like grumpy old man Mark James with pants on. I mean, don't get me wrong, Mark James has always been grumpy. Like, I owe Mark. Matter of fact, I owe Mark James an ass whooping. Speaking of him, when I was green, we was in a tag match, and I was in a tag match and I powdered out. Actually, I was hanging out on the bottom rope. I was getting beat up, and I was selling on the bottom rope, and I was selling on the same side that Mark James was on. And so uh, I'm selling the rope, hanging over the rope this way, and Mark James was to my left. And before I knew it, I look up and Mark James is running down the apron tray and boots me dead in the face, full force. And like all I see is bells and birds. And I'm like, afterwards, I'm like, what the? I'm green. I'm like, what did I do wrong? And he's like, never hang out on my side of the ring. And I'm like, what? He's like, I thought, yeah, he's like, I thought you saw me coming. He's like, but if you're on my side of the ring where I'm standing, I'm kicking you in the face. And I'm like, okay. And I've never done that. 19 years, 18 years later, I've never made that mistake.
don't ever hang on my side of the ring.
Yeah. He's like, never hang out on my side of the ring. I'm gonna kick you in the face every time.
I hope
Mark
that
James
this.
is a bully. I just want to let y'all know
Oh
that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Love him to death, but Jesus Christ.
I hope that this is.
I call myself the Mid Atlantic bully, but he's the original bully.
I do have a question. What's going on with those ropes?
I thought about that too. Yeah,
It's bruh, so it's a 22-foot ring, Trey. You can't find steel cables that long. And so those are the original WrestleMania 2 ropes.
Hell
Like
no.
they tried to tighten those ropes up as much as possible, and those ropes because they're it's actual rope fiber, and it
Hmm.
breaks down over time.
Hmm.
And the promoter, he was trying to find like cable long enough for a 22-foot ring, but it was like he went to the hardware store. They're like, "Oh no, the longest we got is this," and it was like 8 feet too short, or it was like 4 feet too short or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
It was ridiculous. So they just ended up using like the original WrestleMania 2 ropes that came with the ring.
that looks so dangerous. I don't know if it's the shadows or whatever, but it
Oh, it was terrible. Those ropes were terrible. God.
Great
Except for
story.
one corner.
yeah.
They were able to get them tight in like one corner. And so that's where everybody did like their top rope moves off of was like that one corner where they were tight.
Amazing. Um, I'm glad I picked this picture. That's what I love about doing this is you find stuff that you never thought that you would learn. A lot of it is apparently penis related, but uh,
That ring is still around North Carolina somewhere.
I'm gonna find it.
Vinny Vane has it. If you're looking for it, Vinny Vane has that ring.
Okay.
Originally Mark James got it from Killer Kowalski, and he sold it to Vinny Vane.
I'm hit up
Yeah.
there.
That's us. That's us when we first started working at AWE. Oh Jesus, and we're facing the Carnies now. Team IOU. Um, so that's my homie Nick Iggy, who jumped on the back of my neck. And then we ended up fighting in the middle of Atlanta during a riot. There was a protest going on outside, and we run out there. We're fighting in the middle of, like, it's by the old Masquerade in Atlanta. There was a protest going on with all these black people that are protesting. And out comes me and this white guy in spandex, and we're fighting in the middle of the street. And cars are stopping, and people are cheering, "Whoop that cracker's ass!" Like, but yeah, that was me and Joe Black versus when we first started. We first started working at AWE and stuff. We were facing the Carnies, and then this ended up leading to our infamous double dog collar match, where I stole the finish from a Marvel movie. But yeah,
Can you
T-Set.
elaborate along the Marvel movie ending?
So when I equate wrestling to comic books, obviously, and so I'm always stealing ideas from comics. And so it was a double dog collar match. And I was coming up with a finish. And you remember in the Avengers where Bucky and Captain America are beating up on Iron Man, and they're passing the shield back and forth,
Yeah.
beating the hell out of Iron Man. So I look at Joe and I'm like, hey, we'll wrap the chain around them, and I'll grab a chair and like we'll pass the chair back and forth, beating them with the chair, alternating beating with the chair and super kicking them. So if you see the end of that dog collar match, you'll see like Joel he hits one of the carnies with a chair while I'm super kicking Nick Iggy, and then he throws me the chair and I hit Nick with the chair while he's super kicking, you know what I'm saying, the guys and stuff. So like I kind of stole that finish from that Marvel movie.
I
That's awesome.
I think it's yours now. I think that's
Yeah.
that's the better execution.
Thank you.
Yeah, of
That's
course.
awesome. I love that.
I was just talking, yo, I was just I was just talking to Fry Daddy about this match last month at GIPW. I just saw Fry Daddy, and we were talking about this exact match in the locker room. So this was for a company called Monstrosity Championship Wrestling, and they were just known for like it was like if you took the old monsters movies and stuff from like the 70s and you mixed it with wrestling. So like they had the Kentucky Wolfman who was racist. But the funny thing was the racist, homophobic Kentucky Wolfman was played by Rick Michaels, who's gay. And then they had Simon Sermon, who once again Simon Sermon is the first openly gay professional wrestler. And for all of you LGBTQIA fuckers in professional wrestling, if you don't know who Simon Sermon is, fuck you. You're a horrible person. Um, Man, I'll say it. If nobody else will beat the trumpet and beat the drums of how amazing Simon Sermon is and what he means to the LGBTQ community and professional wrestling, I will do it. All right. But anyway, Simon Sermon plays like a vampire gimmick, and he was like, his whole catchline was like, I want to suck your blood. Like, it's fucking hilarious. But anyway, this match happened during Easter Sunday, and they build the match as the world's greatest lycanthrope versus the world's most famous zombie, or the most famous zombie ever, aka the Easter Bunny versus Jesus. Okay, and so I'm supposed to be the baby face. So I'm the Easter Bunny. I'm coming out. I got a basket full of peeps that I was like stuffing in people's shirts and stuff. And I'm drinking a rolling rock because Jesus had to roll the rock away to get out the tomb. I thought that was funny. And so, they had me in the Easter Bunny costume. I thought it was hilarious. And then Fry Daddy is supposed to be Jesus, and he's the heel. And he's coming out and he's calling all the females whores and telling them they're all sinners and they're all going to hell. And then he gets in the ring. And this is where the crowd turns on me because Fry Daddy gets in the ring and takes off his robe. And it's like, oh, Jesus has a six pack. And next thing you know, you just hear women in the crowd telling them, oh, Jesus. And this one chick was like, Lord, save me. And I'm like, did you almost just turn on me? And for Jesus, if he has a six pack? And then all of a sudden, I'm the heel of the match because Jesus has a six pack and the Easter Bunny does it. And then the match got ruined by Davey. And then they had this goofball named Davey Blue come out and choke slam both of us. And he ends up ripping my Easter Bunny costume and giving Fry Daddy a concussion because he was super reckless and shit. And yeah, but there it goes.
I don't think I could have imagined a better story to accompany this.
I love that.
Yeah, I knew that
Yeah,
it would be
but
fun.
it all went south. It all went south because fucking Fly Daddy has a six pack and took his robe off. And this chick was like, oh, Jesus.
Fucking rats, man. Fucking rats, man.
Fucking rats.
Fucking
That's all you
rats,
can say.
man.
Rats.
Fucking rats, man. Ruin a whole story because you were fucking hurt over some abs.
Stole my babyface shot.
Perfect. This next picture here seems pretty cool.
Oh, man, that was just me down at NWA Georgia. Just me coming out and stuff. And by this time, those were the infamous burgundy trunks that I wear, burgundy shorts that I wear. If you see those shorts, that means somebody's getting their ass whooped.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So nothing special about that story, really. I guess like I had to work Mike Payne before he lost all his weight. That was about it. There was nothing really like there was nothing special about that show besides the fact that I look pretty dope in the entrance.
Well, they can't all be winners. Let's.
They can't all be winners, man. You picked a dud. Oh, that so this picture was taken the week before Cedric had to what's the word? Had to check in at the performance center. This was like that was his last indie show. And so a lot of people don't know, but like him and Joe Black both started off basically training together. Him, Cedric, Joe, Trevor Lee, Andrew Everett, Eric Rule were all basically in the same training class. So I've known Cedric shit for 12, 13, 14 years. But we're all good friends and stuff. And so at this time, me and Joe had the Sound and Fury. You know, we're teamed up as the Sound and Fury and stuff. And we were booked on a show with Cedric. And I was like, man, I think this is going to be the last time we're all in the locker room together. I was like, because Cedric's going to WWE. Joe, you're probably going to end up there. And I'm old. So I'm never going to WWE. Let's get a picture. And so that was the picture we took right before Cedric actually checked into the performance center.
I love always seeing I always love seeing pictures of Joe before he became just a straight murderer. Like, when he knew Joy.
No. Joe has always been a murderer. That's why I gave Joe the nickname the Killer Way. Like a lot of people don't realize I'm the one gave Joe told Joe he should go by the nickname the Killer Way.
Mm-hmm.
Joe has always been a murderer. He was just for the longest time at first, he was just really small.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so when you're like 150 pounds, nobody's going to take you serious as a killer. And he put in the time, he put in the gym time and everything, man, and he became the monster that he is now. But he's always had that attitude. He's always had that work style. He's always been the annoying little brother to my annoying little brother. You know what I'm saying?
More so like the change, because there was a shift, because like he doesn't pose like this anymore. Like he doesn't pose like that anymore. He's more in his shit, and then I don't get to see this as much as I used to. If that makes sense.
Well, because you know what it is. Back then, during that time, like we were having fun, and a lot of people don't realize the higher you go in this business in this sport, the more you have to deal with the bullshit and the politics, and you have to worry about people, giving you heat unnecessarily. You know what I'm saying? People always trying to take your spot. People always trying to take your place and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And back then, like we were just having fun. We were traveling the roads and shit. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't have to. Sorry about that. That's my dog.
It's okay.
We didn't have to worry about the BS and the politics. You know what I'm saying? And so we were just having fun. And now, even now, I feel it. Being 19 years in the game, is like I have to watch what I say and I have to watch what I do because there's always somebody wanting to take your spot. There's always somebody wanting to take you down, and it's very hard to just relax.
I feel that. I'm sure Trey does as well, especially that like we're talking about Joe taking the leap. I think Trey is at that point where he's taking that next step. I have a feeling that you're going to be in the ring with Joe very soon, Trey. So
It looks like it.
I don't know. I don't know why everybody just thinks like working with Joe is like it's one of two schools of thought when it comes to working with Joe. Like everybody's like either, oh, Joe is such a killer and da da da, it's so hard wrestling Joe. When it's like it's really way worse working me because I'm probably the hardest hitting Mickey Ficky on the East Coast. Like when it comes, first of all, when it comes to chops, nobody chops harder than me when I feel like it. Um, and I have an ego. Like if I feel like if I'm working Trey and I feel like Trey's like talking shit and he's like, oh, he's an old man, he can't do this. And I'm like, oh, really? Well, now I have to outshine you. Really. Now I have to show you up. Or they're like, ooh, Joe is so easy to work with. And it's like, no, Joe's an asshole. That's why I hate all of. That's why I really don't like all you fuckers running around with those battle beads and like all of y'all like, oh yeah, I work Joe. Joe gave me his blessing, and I'm like, so I've beaten Joe more than like technically I've wrestled Joe more than any person in the business ever. Like I've beaten Joe more than anybody in wrestling, and I've been beaten up more by Joe than anybody else in wrestling. Where the hell are my beads at? Like why don't I get some?
Trey. But
Hey.
I'm gonna go. You know what? 2025. I'm gonna wrestle all of you fuckers who have those battle beads, and I'm just gonna start taking them.
I, I worked a long time for these beats, Will.
I
I
don't
love you,
care.
Huck. You can take these beats from me.
You have Joe's respect. You don't have mine. Like what the hell?
so you mentioned like if you were to think that Trey thinks that you're kind of the old man on the block, he'll take it harder. Is that the same treatment that Maurice Moss got when you guys?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I forgot.
He made a couple of phrases that kind of pissed me off. Like shoot, really pissed me off. And I was just like, oh, like you really like I really feel like you think this. We really think that you're she's fine. Like you really think that, I'm an old man and I'm over the hills. Like, all right, let me show you something, kid. Let Will take you to school real quick. Like, so, you know, sorry about that. Um, but yeah, were you there for that match with Maurice?
I wasn't there. I was watching those promos though, because I watched yours and I was like, I don't, I don't think this is what, I don't think this is what everybody else thinks it is. Because I've been around you a good bit, and I know the difference, and there was a
Yeah,
difference.
he took some pretty hellacious chops in that match.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he
Oh.
took it was kind of rough for that kid that night.
Yeah. I was like, I know what's going in for Maurice. I was booked, so I couldn't be there, but I was like, damn, I wanted to.
Yeah, it was a rough night for him that night.
Yeah.
Amazing. I love
All right,
that.
what's the next picture?
Speaking of chops.
Okay, this looks like I chopped him in the face, but I didn't. That was me actually. That was a really badly timed picture where I finished punching him and I like my hand shoots out. But that was actually a punch, and then my hand opened up afterwards. Matter of fact, okay, so that venue is probably the dopest venue this side of Hammerstein, the Hammerstein Ballroom, as far as indie wrestling goes. It's the old Opera nightclub in Midtown Atlanta. That's the building where I got to wrestle Lil Scrappy and Stevie J for VH1. And this is the night that Joe Black turned on me which started that 5-year feud that culminated in the dog collar match and me getting suplexed through a windshield. It all started on this night right here.
Mm.
Perfect. Well, I have a feeling that we will maybe be revisiting that at some point. The venue does look cool. It does. It just kind of looks like you're like I got your nose. Like you ever done that? That's what it looks like you're kind of doing. uh,
Jesus Christ.
uh,
But that's
uh,
the amazing chip day. There's the dive. Yeah.
sorry, I
Now
thought
look,
that
if you see right there, I'm over.
This one thing.
I'm over. My gut is over. Look at that. My gut is already over the top rope.
I meant to include the video, but I didn't think the video would work because of the slideshow. So that's why I played it at the beginning. So it was originally supposed to go right here, but we can skip right over that.
But if you Mhm.
We could go back and
We analyze.
you see my gut, Trey, you see that my gut is over the rope.
I see it.
You see that?
I see it.
Thank you. I'm
I
still
got
going up. I'm still going up at this point.
You're like right here, and then something here. I'm not
Yes.
going to say what it is, but something right here catches, and it
It
causes you
just
to
boom.
just snatches
Yes.
you right. Yeah.
it's not his belly
Exactly.
Mm-mm.
It is not.
Because he's
Not
got
my
an
belly
eight.
button. Yes.
All right, so I snagged this picture here because he got a lot of talent there. George South.
Oh, yes. So I had fun. This is one of George South shows, and there was so many of like George's kids. And this is when everybody was doing like the whole like black excellence pictures with all the black
Mhm.
wrestlers that was on the show. And then we took one picture with just us, and then George South was like, well, dang on, buddy, can I get the picture too? And we were like, sure, George, you can be one of us for this picture, no
Come
problem.
on.
Um, and I had to work Montana Black.
I love it.
And long story short, everywhere that Montana Black chopped me, for some reason, rolling around in that ring, I got a staph infection, a really bad staph infection that night, like chest, back, everything. Everywhere he chopped me at, and I rolled, I touched the canvas, like I got a staph infection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a habit of opening people up when he chops them.
Yeah, it was that. The canvas was just nasty. Oh.
Sorry, George. You can't wash your canvas. Do you have like in particular like a favorite George South story?
I love George South. I don't think George South likes me that much. Um, I think my favorite George South story doesn't even involve me. It involves White Mike, where George South was working White Mike. It might have been a Ozone show. I can't remember where it was at, but they were trying to do the international spot, where it's like shoulder tackle, drop down, leapfrog. You know what I'm saying? Hip toss again and again. And for some reason, White Mike was just off that night and just could not get that spot. And George just kept picking him up and running that spot for like 8 minutes. They ran the international to the point where the fans started calling out the moves. And then finally, they get the hip toss. He bumps, and George gets the headlock, and he fucking headlock takeover pins him 1, 2, 3, and that was the whole match.
I've heard
Um,
about this.
and then if you've never seen George South versus Mike Jackson in action wrestling, probably top 10 greatest matches I've ever seen live. George South, who was like 56 at the time, Mike Jackson, who had literally wrestled Lou Thesz. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They are in like they know each other for 40 years, had never wrestled. And so you have like 100 years of wrestling experience in the fucking ring. And like it took George 10 minutes to get his jacket off. If you know George South, you know that's par for the course.
Yeah.
And then the hot spot was Mike Jackson doing the Undertaker walk on the ropes. And they worked a wrist lock for the entire match. It was such a master class in telling a story and less is more that I really wish that there would have been way more wrestlers in that building to watch that match. It was literally like watching Michelangelo and Da Vinci fucking competing in a painting contest.
Amazing. That would be fun.
It
Speaking of fun,
was.
I guess we'll go to this next picture. I don't know why I'm giving segues to different pictures, but we mentioned it earlier. Um,
The greatest match of the last 20 years in Georgia wrestling, in my opinion, hands down.
Oh yeah, no competition.
That match sparked the summer of Huck, where like everywhere you looked, WWE, AEW, TNA, everybody was getting put through a windshield for some reason. It was the weirdest thing ever. I don't know why all of a sudden everybody started doing windshield spots. Who knows? Um, that match sucked. Um, so I've only told this to start. Do we got some time so I can say this?
yeah, as much time as you need.
Okay. Okay. I've only told people in the Kraken locker room this, where I'm the booker. That match, if it wasn't for COVID, that would probably have been one of my last matches. Um, because people don't understand, to have a match of that caliber, I literally had to dig deep into myself, into like the darkest parts of my actual soul, to get the emotions necessary to have that match. There was a point, if you go and you watch that match back, there's a point in that match where it stopped being a wrestling match and it literally started becoming real. Where 95% of my 95% of me thought it was an actual fight, and I was ready to die in the ring that night. The spot I'm talking about is like I go to Powerbomb Joe on the announce table and he doesn't go through, and I got so angry that I like literally deadlifted him up and just like powerbombed him through the table to the floor, basically gave him a concussion almost. I was so mad. Um, and like literally just kind of blacked out for a second. And I guess people who've been in the business long enough, you kind of get to a point, and you always have that one match where it kind of becomes real. Um, After that match, I was first of all, it took the EMTs 45 minutes to get all the glass out my back. And they ran out of like alcohol swabs, and they just started pouring alcohol on my back. It was the most painful thing ever. But after that match, I was in such a depression. I went through such a bad depression after that match because I really couldn't. It was like having like that first hit of heroin or that first hit of crack when you get that first really good high and you're chasing it from then on. But I had went to such a dark place in myself to get the emotions necessary for that match that I couldn't dig myself back out of it, if that makes sense to you guys.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely.
Like that match really, I don't know how it felt for Joe, but that match really took a lot out of me psychologically. Yeah, it's weird. I've never said that out loud to anybody. Okay, y'all got an exclusive.
Hell yeah, love that.
Appreciate that. Yeah, like this is such a
But that's
synonymous. Go ahead.
but 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 that's why like after we had that match, like everybody was like, "Oh, y'all want to have a dog color match with Huck?" And I'm like, "Listen, I'll have the match with you as long as you're going to be as invested in the match as I'm going to be,
Hmm.
because I know what it takes to have a match, that kind of match. And I know exactly where I have to go to mentally to have that match. If you're going to match it, then yeah, we can do it. But if you're not going to match my energy, then we're not doing it. And I don't know too many wrestlers who are willing to pay that price.
So you, I think it's hard to question somebody's love of wrestling when they're willing to put an extended strain on their whole entire life to tell a story. Which I think kind of goes to show the beauty of wrestling is like it's not like a male soap opera. It's fucking Casablanca or fucking I don't know. I'm trying to think of like these like when done properly. I don't think that there's anything that conveys emotion better than wrestling.
I think wrestling is a soap opera, because you have the cheesiness. It's kind of
Mhm.
cheesy like a soap opera.
Yeah,
Especially for us '80s babies who grew up, watching Days of Our Lives and All My Children. and stuff like that. Like it has the cheesiness of a soap opera, and it has the drama of a soap opera and the predictability of a soap opera. Um, but I think that if you're going to be good to great in this business, you have to have some kind of mental illness. Like the great wrestlers all have mental illnesses, whether you're manic or bipolar, whatever the case may be. You have DID. Like you have to have a legit mental disability, a mental illness to be good in wrestling because you have to create an entirely different person and bring that person to life and make that person convincing to other people who may or may not know you in real life. And you have to make this other person, you have to become this person at the drop of a hat. And then once you come back through the curtain, you have to drop that person at the curtain. And that's very hard to do unless you have some kind of mental illness.
So for all of like the wrestlers that might be listening, like what advice do you have? You've been in this for 19 years of ways that you can kind of take care of yourself mentally in order to keep doing this on a consistent level, or is it just you can't?
No, no, no. I tell people take the business seriously, don't take yourself seriously. Like take your art form and what you do in the ring seriously, but never take yourself serious.
Hmm.
Remember that this is because you're doing this because you love it and because it's fun. When you start taking yourself serious is when the stress of wrestling starts getting to you. You know what I'm saying? But if you're like Rob Killjoy, just be like Rob Killjoy. And I don't say that as a negative thing. I say
Hmm.
that as saying Rob takes the business of professional wrestling very seriously.
Very serious.
You know what I'm saying? And he takes the art form and the craft of pro wrestling very serious. But he doesn't take himself as a person or as a gimmick serious. And so therefore Rob Killjoy, 18, 19, 20 years later, is still enjoying what he's doing, still loves professional wrestling. I've
Mhm.
never in the all the years I've known Rob Killjoy, I've never heard Rob Killjoy talk about his dislike of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
Every time you see Killjoy, he's always having the time of his life. Whether he's performing in front of 10,000 people at AEW or it's 10 people in Bumfuck, Egypt, North Carolina. You know what I'm saying? He is always enjoying himself. So the key to protecting yourself mentally in this business is to never take yourself seriously, but take what we do serious.
I like that.
So what do you talking about going through the curtain? So you turn into to the Incredible Hulk, William Huckaby, once you go through that curtain.
Yes.
What is the difference between the Incredible Hulk, Will Huckabee, and William Huckabee, the comic book lover?
Um, I'm the exact opposite of most wrestlers. What you see in the ring is my true authentic self.
Mm-hmm.
And who I am away from the ring is the mask that I wear for everybody, if that makes sense.
Makes a ton of sense.
So, so while most people say, "Oh, my wrestling gimmick is me dialed up to 10," it's like, no, my wrestling gimmick is me, my baseline me, and then when I'm behind the curtain, except for my really close friends, what you see out in public is me dialed all the way down for society.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy for me to get in the character because I'm just like, oh, I'm just going to be me now.
Does anybody outside of wrestling ever caught? And I'm sure like anybody ever like caught you wrong in a parking lot and saw the Incredible Hook?
Oh, anybody's ever gone to a club where I've bounced at? Go to Havelock, North Carolina. Go to what they call the plot. Go to the plaza and ask about Black Will, and they'll tell you all the stories.
What what would you say is your top story from bouncing? If you had like a go to that you had to.
Oh man, I can't tell you that. I'd go to prison. I don't know what the statute of limitations is. let's just say I've used a lot of wrestling moves in bar fights. I've broken a lot of doors and sent a lot of people to the hospital. I can't give you a specific one. I think the funniest one was when we had to restrain a guy who was high off of meth, and that dude might have been 140 pounds. And at the time, I was on the gas working out with Joe. I was like 305 easily,
Mm.
and I'm laying on this kid's back trying to restrain him, and he did a perfect push up with me on his back,
Oh
and
my.
five. It took five police officers and six bouncers to get this kid in handcuffs. So
Stay away from meth.
Yeah,
exactly.
please, please, just stay with meth. Period.
And this is our last picture here. We talked about Joe and your partnership with Joe, and now you've got a new partner in this
Hold my
business.
beer.
Hold my beer, Hanson.
Hanson. Now we're no longer hold my beer because we're running Kraken Pro Wrestling. We want to be more family friendly. So now it's just Sam Hanson. Um, Hanson gave me he rekindled my actual love of professional wrestling. Like I said, before I was teaming up with Hanson, I was ready to quit. I wasn't enjoying myself. I was super depressed. And just being around Hanson, he's young in the business. And the
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying, he just wants to have fun. Um, he's really great when it comes to merchandise and creativity, and he's more of the people person than I am. Like I give the tag team credibility, and he makes us popular with the fans. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm just having it's like my second breath. I'm in my second win now. Just having fun with him and J2 Strong. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
They kind of I've kind of turned back the clock as far as like having actual fun.
Why don't you take a picture? It'll last longer.
I turn my camera on. I cut my fingers on the way. On the way.
All right, and we're back. So we've kind of taken a journey through your wrestling career, and you just mentioned kind of being revitalized. So how do you envision the back half of your career going? Like what is the perfect end to your story?
There is no perfect end. I think now, um, like all things, I'm just kind of evolving. You know, we have the All Star Special. We're doing our thing as far as tag team goes. Me and Sam, we started Kraken Pro Wrestling down in Tifton, Georgia. And there, you know, he handles the promoting because he's way better at talking to people than I am. I handle the booking. Um, we have a weekly YouTube show every Thursday night, 7 p.m. on YouTube. Our usually our shows are released and stuff. So now I'm having fun, not only being in the ring, but um, booking shows, writing TV, and then I'm also teaching a lot of the guys on the roster how to do something besides be a wrestler. You know what I'm saying? I'm teaching guys how to be agents and how to help other guys put together their matches. We have this amazing camera guy named Blaine, and I'm teaching him how to be a producer when it comes to producing vignettes and promos or backstage interviews and promos and stuff. Teaching guys like Brandon Watley and Aaron Black and Ryan Wright how to actually book shows, or even Lamar Diggs how to book shows and how to book stories and why we do certain things when it comes to actually booking wrestling shows. Because in my theory, and when it comes to me, and I'm gonna be braggadocious as fuck for a whole second,
Oh yeah.
there's not a lot of bookers in professional wrestling. There's a lot of matchmakers. It's really easy to say I have a $5,000 budget and I'm gonna get this name and put him with this big indie guy. I'm gonna put them in the ring and have a dope match. Anybody can do that. You know what I'm saying? Anybody can say, I'm just gonna put together 6 to 8 really dope matches and just put it out there for the fans. An actual booker puts together not every match is going to be a banger, but every match tells a story because I know a year from now what my main event is going to be. You know what I'm saying? I know who's going to be my tag champions, who's going to be my main champion, who's going to be my secondary champion. I know who they're going to drop the title to and how long they're going to hold the title. There's not a lot of people who write wrestling shows who know how to do that. there's not a lot of people who can do what I do when it comes to Kraken Pro Wrestling, which is take a 2 hour show with 8 matches and make 4 weeks of TV with it. You know what I'm saying? To where even the fans who watch our live show go back and watch the YouTube show because they're interested in, well, what did we miss, or where's this story leading us to?
Mhm.
So that's where this half of the back half of my career is going. I was nominated in 2024 Mentor of the Year, and even though I wasn't nominated this year, it's cool because I'm still mentoring people. I'm still There's so many wrestling schools. I know you guys have seen this. I know Trey has seen me talk about this several times on my Facebook. Wrestling trainers, with the exception of maybe Josh Gary and Kozo,
Hmm.
quit stealing these kids' money. Stop it. You fuckers are stealing people's money because you're teaching them wrestling moves, and that's about it. And you're not teaching them the business of professional wrestling. And I am sick and tired as a booker getting messages saying, "Hey, yo, what's up? I'm wrestler A from such and such, and I'm just looking for an opportunity. You got space for your show for me to come work?" And then I'm like, "Hey, send me your wrestling. Like, send me a resume with 2 brief matches, and you send me the same message, and then you send me two 20-minute matches. I'm not watching a 20-minute match. I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Teach these kids how to contact promoters. Teach them how to make a legitimate wrestling resume. Let these kids give them the opportunity to learn how to work a 4 to 5 minute match. Because if they go to WWE, they're not getting a 15, 20-minute match on TV. They're getting 3 to 4 fucking minutes. You know what I'm saying? Teach these kids how to work the fucking hard camera. Because whether you're working for us at Kraken Pro Wrestling, or you're working for the NWA, or you're working for Triple H and them at WWE, you have to work the hard camera. And you would be surprised how many people don't know how to work the hard cam. How many people don't know how to write a promoter or a booker to try to get the opportunity to get booked. You know what I'm saying? Like, quit taking these people fucking money. Jesus. Ugh, I'm sorry.
No, no,
Like,
no.
like,
I think that's
Rant over.
you know, like I know me with like coming up and everything. Like I learned most of that stuff listening to guys like you. I didn't learn that in whatever school I went to. I didn't learn that till I was 3, 4 years in. That's like, oh, there's an etiquette to this. There's a way that you're supposed to do
Yes,
this that makes you look professional, and there's ways that they look at it,
exactly.
and you're like, you're not even going to be looked at.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I understand wrestling's better overall now than it was 20 years ago when I started, as far as the locker room atmosphere. There's no
mhm,
drugs, there's no really no alcohol or whatever. But there are certain things that certain traditions that we had when I first broke into the business that I miss. I
mhm,
miss the guys knew to put their information on an 8x10. You know what I'm saying? And walk up to a promoter and say, "Hey, how you doing? My name's Will Huckaby. Here's my tape. Here's my 8x10. Here's my contact information." You know what I'm saying? When somebody new contacts me, the first thing I say is, "Who trained you?" Because I've been doing this long enough that, especially if you're east of the Mississippi, I probably know your trainer, and I can call them or I can message them real quick. "Hey, tell me about this kid. Is he any good?" You know what I'm saying? Did you train this person? And most of the time, if they say yes, all right, cool. Should I give him a shot? Is he good enough to come this way? You know what I'm saying? Or did you not train him and he's just using your name? Okay, well, fuck him.
mhm,
yeah.
You get what I'm saying? But I miss those time honored traditions where we would contact each other, and people weren't. Now these wrestling schools are so worried about money, 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 and not turning out great wrestlers, not protecting the fucking business.
mhm,
Protecting the business is more than just making this. Protecting the business is more than just not going out there and looking fake and doing some hokey stuff. It's, hey, I hate the idea that everybody should be in wrestling, or wrestling's for everybody, because wrestling's not for everybody. No offense. You know what I'm saying? Unless you have the talent of Cornelius Pepperbottom and those in Georgia and Florida and stuff, you know who Pepperbottom is from the Exotic Youth.
yeah,
Unless you can say you are better than or just as good as Cornelius Pepperbottom, if you're his size, you should be a referee at the max. You know what I'm saying? If you are 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing, and you're not Cornelius, and you don't have the talent of Cornelius Pepperbottom, you shouldn't be in the ring. I understand if you're 6'4", 400 pounds, and you can't move like Aaron Biggs or Jeter, you
Uh,
shouldn't be in the ring. You know what I'm saying? Wrestling's not for fucking everybody. Everybody can't do it. And I wish we would stop. I wish we would stop letting everybody in the business because a lot of you are giving me ass cancer.
no, like even because I broke in 2017, and it was more like that than it is right now. And it was, and I tell people that whenever I go to schools and whatever, and they're like, "What's different?" And it's like it's a lot more inclusive, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing because like there's not the respect, there's not the appreciation for what you have to do to get in because everybody can get in now.
I wish that a lot of these people who consider themselves quote unquote horses and big men would go back and watch Ali Steele versus Casey McKnight, who is now what's his name in FTR?
Dax Harwood.
Yeah, I wish they would go back and watch Ali Steele versus Dax Harwood when he was Casey McKnight, and Ali Steele was knocking on 400 pounds and was running lucha spots at 400 pounds. You know what I'm saying? I wish people would go back to 2012, 2013 in West Virginia when I was working with Big Bad Bully and Aaron Biggs, and we were fucking nonstop running lucha spots and doing superplexes and dives throughout the ropes, and we weren't just throwing forearms and chops like big men. Like
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying? Like not everybody can be in this business.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I'm here behind a microphone. Trey has those beats.
Freaking, no, you're behind the microphone because you're a Batman fan.
That I deserve it. I deserve it.
You did. You did.
uh,
Call back.
so, if I'm not mistaken, you also offer services if somebody hasn't gotten that kind of education. You'll do sessions with them where you'll talk and you'll walk them through a resume and you'll help them through all this stuff. How can people get in touch with you for that?
You can contact. So I offer uh, online, like over the phone, video or phone conferences, where I will take the information that you have and I will help you construct a wrestling resume, a professional wrestling resume that you can send to damn near any booker in the country. And even if they don't book you, they will definitely congratulate you on your professionalism. Um, Also, myself and Sam Hansen, we also do merch seminars where we teach guys how to increase their merch money. A lot of people think that you have to have tons of money to have like a good quality merch table, and you don't. There are certain things and certain tricks that you can use that are very cost effective, if not free, to get merch and to create merch and to go from just going home with 20, 25, 30 bucks that the promoter is giving you, and to go from that to going home with three, four, 500 bucks.
So
Um,
this
me and Hanson, we have a track record of selling out on merch every show we've gone to.
is amazing. I
So
think a lot of
for
people
any one of those, you can contact. For any one of those, you can contact. The easiest way is just contact me on Facebook, William Huckaby, and let me know which one you want to do. If you need a wrestling resume, or if you need merch, you need help with merch and stuff. Um, yeah, I just hit me up on Facebook.
Right. And then what advice do you have for somebody that is a Bears fan?
Man, as a Bears fan, we just gotta. Well, first of all, you have to realize at least you're not a Cowboys fan.
100%.
At the
That's the
very
truth.
least, at least you're not a Cowboys fan. You know what I'm saying? At least you're not a Falcons fan.
Hmm.
So there's hope. There's hope for us. And now, we have a dope quarterback. Hopefully, our new head coach, saying he's going to turn around the culture over there in Chicago and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Next year is our year. We're going to the Super Bowl next year.
I'd love to
I'm
see
not
it.
worried about it.
I'm a Colts fan, so I'm sorry about 2006.
He's just an all over. Trey, why do you hang out with this guy?
Listen,
He's just an
man.
all around loser.
He's a
Jesus
good guy once you
Christ.
really get to know him. He's fine.
Really? He's a
But
Colts fan who loves Batman. He's a oh
I
Jesus.
you got to go under. I'm Jack Tatum's best friend, so like you really got to dig in there to find him. Like
yeah.
Who's your favorite wrestler?
Mine.
my,
Um, I probably
Watch you,
Kenta Kobayashi.
I'm about to say, watch you say something silly like fucking the Young Bucks or something.
It's
I
probably
love, I love, I love Matt and Nick Jackson so much. Yeah. Kenny Omega's the greatest wrestler ever. Yeah.
yeah, no. I sorry, nobody. This is probably we're getting close to 100, and I've never been roasted like this before. Yeah, I'm honestly a fan. I'm okay with it. I need to be brought down a peg.
Are you a Kenny Omega fan?
No, I'm not. I mean, I enjoy some of his matches, but like I like that like at least as an adult. Like I was a big Rey Mysterio fan as a kid, but I liked like the all Japan style of people just beating the fuck out of each other.
First of all, so check this out. I hate when people say that. Okay,
I'm sorry.
All Japan, you know the All Japan wrestling style. All you know what All Japan wrestling was known for. Do you know what Kings Road wrestling is?
Yes.
What is Kings Road wrestling?
I was afraid you were going to ask me that.
Uh-huh. I was.
So Kings Road Wrestling, it's kind of like the build up of like who can take the most beating from the other opponent and like being able to withstand the pain and the punishment. Am I wrong?
You are so wrong. Jesus Christ, Trey, where you find these guys? That is not Kings Road wrestling. Kings Road wrestling is based off of long-term storylines.
Okay.
So, like when you had Kobashi versus Masawa, who had like a 4 or 5 year feud, me versus Joe Black is the antithesis of modern day Kings Road wrestling. What you're what you're trying to describe is like the Japanese fighting spirit, and those guys are not really beating the shit out of each other. Like they're super light; they're just hitting each other in safe spots. It looks like they're killing each other, but that's the art of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But Kings Road Wrestling is just based on it's just the fact of we're telling long term storylines. Same as like Paul Heyman and ECW, where Sabu and Taz had that 2 3 year long feud. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's Kings Road Wrestling. It's not ooh beat me up, you hit me, I hit you. If you think that if me and Trey beat the shit out of each other every night, 6 days a week, twice on Sundays, that we will be able to hold that pace up for 3 4 years.
No, not at all. It's got to
Exactly.
matter. You save that like for the dog color match. That's when that match takes place.
Yes, exactly. And even then, with a few exceptions, we really didn't beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Because that stuff hurts, man. If you want to beat the hell out of each other, go do MMA.
Yeah.
I would like to point
This
out
shit's fake.
when I said that, Trey was like, "Yeah, what do you fucking said?" I just want to point that out. And style of people just beating the fuck out of each other.
First of all,
I'll rewind it and put it in here.
I've been nodding my head all day.
Each other.
First of all,
I've been nodding my head this entire time. Don't do this to me.
This is going to be a challenge for my integrity because as the editor of this podcast, I'm going to want to take that out.
I know you are.
But I'm not going to.
I'm gonna rewatch this. I'm gonna rewatch this show to make sure you left it in.
I'm gonna leave it in. Yeah.
And if you did, I'm gonna call you out and say, you know what I'm saying, that you're a fraud.
Yeah. It's definitely staying in now. This has been absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. I have one follow-up question, and then I'll give the floor to Trey. Although I'm kind of afraid to ask any questions now. I feel like I'm staring down the barrel.
You are. But you learned something, so it's okay.
Yeah. So we talked a little bit earlier. You kind of started in the North Carolina scene and moved down to Georgia. Who are some matches in North Carolina that you would want to have? Obviously, Mark James has a receipt coming, but like, who are some of the people like in North Carolina, whether they're like the Aaron Biggs or some of the new up and comers that you would want to?
I would love to work Jackson Drake before he fucking goes to the Eve. I've known him since he was like 13, 14 years old. Um, of course, Alex TG Moss, my man TGA, Trey, Aaron Biggs, of course, Mark James, Nemesis. I don't know if any of you guys know who Nemesis is. I know
Yeah,
Trey probably knows who Nemesis is.
How
yeah,
was
we
his last match?
Nemesis. I would love to work Ali Steel because when I worked Ali Steel, I was super fucking green.
Hmm.
If Hang Time was still wrestling, if Hang Time's still wrestling, I
You
would love
still
to
wrestling?
have another match with Hang Time because when I worked him, I was super green. A lot of the matches I would want to have is just guys who I came up in the business with or guys I admired that I had a chance to work with, but I was green. And now, at 19 years in, I know so much more about wrestling that I feel like all of those matches would be amazing. Scotty Matthews. I've never wrestled Scotty Matthews, and I'm kind of afraid of Scotty Matthews, but I would love to work Scotty Matthews.
Yes.
Um, um, but I really, oh man, Scotty Matthews is so dope, bro. God, Scotty Matthews is so dope. He's a
Mhm.
fucking machine.
He is.
Uh, who else? I would have loved to have worked Scrapyard. Rest in peace, Scrapyard Dog. I would have loved to have worked him, but I never got a chance to share a ring with Scrapyard Dog. Um, I think it's about Rob Killjoy, of course. I'd like every time I've wrestled Killjoy like half a dozen times, but I've never had a singles match with Killjoy. I would love to have a singles match with Killjoy. I feel like we would kill it. Same thing with White Mike. I would love to work with White Mike just for the promos.
Hmm. Oh,
Um,
those will be fun.
yeah. Tag team wise, I love to work the Brutes. All Star Special versus the Brutes would be dope. Another run of All Star Special versus the Dawsons. We really didn't get to do what we wanted to do down in Augusta for Vara Pro. So I would really love to have another run with the Dawsons. Maybe the Gorilla Squad. Uh, yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, no, me and Joe Black versus ATL and Robin Golfin. The
Ooh,
Sound and the Fury versus because we all four because ATL was my first tag team partner.
ooh.
We were Team Notorious.
Mhm.
Um, and they all came up at the same time as well. So like we're all friends and stuff. So like me and Joe versus the Radicals would
I
be dope as
love
fuck.
Radical City Kings, man. Those are my guys.
those are
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, they're still doing it at a top tier level. And super nice and humble guys.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah. ATL's a stiff. I have a scar on my head right here from a chair shot from ATL.
He's lightened up a
So I
little
owe
bit.
him. Really? I don't believe that shit at all. ATL used to have a ATL used to have a reputation for busting dudes in the mouth. Like his first drop kick was split your lip, was split your mouth open. He would literally like bust your mouth open with his first drop kick every match. Like he was just that stiff.
Nah,
So yeah,
he's lightened up a good bit.
I don't believe
yeah,
it. But yeah,
this is,
that's about it,
and this is a question I kind of stopped asking for a while, but it's one that we kind of started when we started this podcast doing. So shout out Mark James for recommending it, but especially like with the Kraken locker room and being in Georgia, who are some wrestlers that more people need to know about?
man. Number one, Kevin Cantrell. I've been so one of the Kevin Cantrell, besides our camera guy Blaine, uh the greatest find I had when it came to Kraken Pro Wrestling was Kevin Cantrell, the Warhorse, Kevin Cantrell. Um, fucking amazing. I'm lucky that nobody in Georgia knew about him before we started booking him. And I want everybody in the Southeast to book this guy. Like, if you enjoy Joe, if you enjoy hard hitting guys who know the business, who's legit, great attitude, um, Kevin Cantrell. Somebody else, and it's a referee. I'm just going to say a referee that I think that everybody should know about is this kid named Clark Benedito. He's our senior referee at like 17, 18 years old. This kid is so good that during my matches, he's calling spots for me. Like he's literally calling my match out. I was working Kevin Cantrell, and he was literally calling our match for us. You know what I'm saying? Calling out spots and hey, y'all, hey, stop right there. Don't move to shit. The crowd's not into it. All right, go ahead, finish. Just, I mean, the kid has such a great mind for the fucking business. Um, but as far as other wrestlers go, obviously Trevor Aon. I might hate to say this. Jesus Christ, it hurts me to say this. Ugh. Trey Shaw, J. Alpha Miller, who just won the Georgia Wrestling History Rookie of the Year. Najicism. If you're not booking
Mm-hmm.
Najicism, that dude's a triple threat. He does gear, he does graphics, he wrestles, he books. Like the dude's amazing. Like every oh god, Najicism, amazing. Um, who else? I mean, so many. Here's the thing about Georgia wrestling, and I'll say it like this, and I'm so glad I can say it on this podcast. 'Cause this is seen by a lot of people in North Carolina, right?
Correct. I would. I
All
hope.
right, North Carolina wrestlers, you guys are so lucky that you are cliquish as fuck. Because if these kids from Georgia came to North Carolina, they would make you, with the exception of some of you, they would make y'all look like ass. And here's why I'm telling you this. The state of Georgia is so connected now because of Larry Goodman and the Georgia wrestling history scene that living in Atlanta, I know who's making waves in Augusta, who's making waves in Savannah, who's making waves in Athens, and the scene in Georgia is so connected that we know who's doing what. Also, the level of talent in Georgia is so amazing. When you have guys like Terry Lawler, who's been wrestling for 30 plus years, and Murder One, who's been wrestling for 30 plus years, and Slim J and Kyle Matthews, these guys have been wrestling for 25, 30 years, wrestling at a top level. I mean, Sal Renaro, wrestling at a top level. You know what I'm saying? And when you're green, you have to be on Trey knows this, you have to be on the shoulder of these guys. And the young talent is always getting better because they're surrounded by these 30-year fucking vets who are performing like Bull Buchanan, who are performing at such a top level in their 50s. You know what I'm saying? That the young talent in Georgia could literally go anywhere in this country and be a top person. You get what I'm saying? It's hard to say, oh, what's the good young talent in Georgia? All of the talent in Georgia, whether I like the school that they came from or not, they're all super talented. Jay Lucas, Teriyaki, like all of these kids are super fucking talented and can go anywhere and everywhere and main event anybody's card. And there's nothing you can do about it. I think that North Carolina wrestlers, no offense, I think AML is an amazing fucking product. If you ask me, AML might be the top company south of the Mason Dixon. But if you think that being on AML secures your spot as being one of the best wrestlers in the Southeast, you're fucking wrong. Like you're very lucky that Tracy and Brian do not bring in these young guys from Georgia because they would embarrass the shit out of you. Like North Carolina wrestlers, get your head out of your asses because these kids in Georgia are fucking crushing it and they're traveling and they're going to Tennessee and New York and the Midwest and Texas and they're crushing it. They're going to fucking Mexico and Japan and Europe and they're crushing it. And you guys think that because you're booked on AML, it makes you hot shit. And you're so wrong. As a Carolina guy, and I love my Carolina guys. I love it when Bojack comes to Georgia. I love seeing Diego come to fucking Georgia. I love it when Trey comes to fucking Georgia. But these guys will tell you that it's a different animal down here, that
Completely.
you just can't be good. If you're not consistently getting better and innovating things, you're going to get left in somebody's way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
Like the best talent right now, hands down, is coming out of Georgia. Period. North Carolina wrestlers, if you want to get better, sometimes you have to say, screw the money. I need to get better. Quit worrying about getting paid right now. Bring your ass to Georgia. Go down to Southern Honor. Go to Platinum Championship Wrestling. Go to Coastal. You know what I'm saying? Talk to the guys over there at Coastal in Savannah. Come down to Tifton, Georgia, with me down there at Kraken. Fuck the money because just being around these Georgia guys are going to make you fucking better.
Well said. Trey, I will give you the floor if you have any follow-up questions, anything that you would like to say.
Huck, I know each other for a while. You still got my knee pads?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Actually, I just wore 'em. I just wore 'em.
I appreciate you. You know that. I call you Unc because you are family to me. I appreciate you coming on here. I got
Thanks
some
for
shit I'm
having
gonna
me.
ask you. I got some shit I'm gonna ask you off air because I miss Georgia.
Ask me right now.
When am I coming down to Kraken?
Look, I'm gonna tell you what. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't have AML money. Um, So I don't want you to come all the way down there and I can't give you a decent payout. But if you want to come and lose money, but you want to be on the show, and I'll put you in a dope ass match. Because we have guys like Trevor Aon and Kevin Cantrell and Trey Shaw and all these guys on the show. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, you can look at Kraken Pro Wrestling every Thursday and you can see that we do a legit TV show. You know what I'm saying? And now, like I said, I make sure that I use guys in the right light. I'm not going to book you and make you look like a jackass. You get what I'm saying? So if you want to come down, I'll definitely got you.
I absolutely want to
You
come
know what I'm
down.
saying?
I miss
Yeah.
Georgia. I miss
We were
Georgia like a
our,
motherfucker.
our, our live shows are every Sunday, the second Sunday of every month. Our next live show will be March 8th or March 9th. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we can talk about it. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
Is that what you was going to ask me?
Yeah, I was going to ask you. We was going to review.
Freaking goofball. All right.
I want my knee pads back. That's what it is.
You're gonna fight me for those. All
I'll
right.
fight you for my shit back. That's fine. That's fine. I'm here for it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. This has been fun. I hope it was fun for you as well. We definitely need to have you back on because I don't feel like my self-esteem is low enough. Be lower, so we have to have you back on.
Let's come back on after WrestleMania. How's that sound?
Okay.
All
Sounds
right,
like
that works.
I'll do my
Well, thank
stuff.
you guys so much for having me, man.
Yeah, of
Thank
course.
you.
Reach out to if you need a resume, if you need merch, if you want to see some funny shit on Facebook, just gotcha. Thank you so much.
What do you think you are? I am.
I warm it up like Kane in his prime. Fuck with us, you insane in the